First of all, I want to just say welcome, everybody. This is now 90-day Blitz Playbook, top producer playbook to nail this quarter and next. We're on week 2. So I sent something out to our team last night that said, after reviewing the content of today, this, as far as I'm concerned, enough to make this entire 90-day program worthwhile. It pays back itself just from focusing on what we're talking about today. So I'm really excited to go into this, but I thought before we do that, how do you feel about maybe just introducing yourself, since a lot of them will not have met you?
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's looking to see Simeon today, and he's got more hair, I suppose, than you're normally used to. So, everybody, my name is Bobby Pume. All kidding aside, I consider myself to be Simeon's right-hand man. So I work with Simeon both at the REC Canada team, our day-to-day business. That's the real estate side of things, where I run operations. So with all of the agents on our team, I'm the one in the background that sort of empowers the ability to do each one of the things that we're going to talk about here today. So whether it's geo farming and some of the things that you can implement, that's a system that I've helped to build with our team, as well then as your touch points, all of those things. So how to do them, where to do them, why to do them, and how best to execute upon them. That's me working in the background. So I work to train the team to do that. So this was kind of apropos that Simeon was going to be away for this one, but that I'm the guy that's filling in. So I'm happy to be here. I love when he's doing these things, and I'm happy to be a part of it. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Bobby, so much. One of the things that we get asked a lot of questions about is always the system side of life, because as agents, most agents are probably decent on the sales side, or at least comfortable with the concept, but a lot of us, myself included, need to frankly work on our systems. And you are by far the best systems real estate guy out there. So I think these people should be absolutely thrilled to have you. You're being very modest as usual, but I would really love it if we could not only do this, but I'm looking forward to you and I working out a systems day or two that we could really create some awesome content together. So having said that, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to remind everybody. So last week, their tasks were to write down their vision. Very simple, but really, really important step. It shouldn't have been a big time suck by any means. So hopefully everybody did that, but also to create their top 50 list, or as much of it as possible. Because today we're going to go further into 2 of the 4 pillars. One pillar was the top 50, and the second one is today talking about database activation, and we're going to talk a little bit about geofarming because that's a piece of it. So how about, if it's okay with you, Bobby, let's jump into geofarming. Technically, it was part of last week's session, but we didn't have enough time to get to it. So they all have it in their materials from last week anyway, but we didn't really have time to talk about it. So I would love your perspective on it, if you don't mind jumping into it, and why it matters and how to pick your farm, all that good stuff.
Yeah, let's start with why it matters. In my opinion, it's sort of the anchor to your business. It's where you're best known. It is where you have the best data points. It is something that you bring a unique perspective to. And that's almost strictly because it's somewhere that you live, or that you grew up, or that you've moved to and fallen so in love with that you have all of a sudden become the area expert. And I think that from that point onwardly, what being a great geo farmer is actually less about real estate and more about becoming that sort of first call in that particular area. I'll give you this example. I live in a place that has an incredible Polish bakery. I love it. It is amazing, right? So when I do a lot of my little events, right, I will utilize that bakery sort of as a hub. And people recognize me from that, right? They recognize me, and then they realize, oh, this guy might know other things about the area itself. So not only do I suggest, hey, we got to go get donuts and coffee at this particular place, and I'm going to run my event there,
Mhm.
but inevitably somebody asked me, well, like, do you happen to know a plumber in this area? Do you happen to, what about the best grocery store, right? Like, we're thinking about coming here, and all of a sudden, right, that becomes what you're known for. You become that next top of mind individual. And that really lends well to my business, because what ends up happening is that I leave every phone call at the end of that phone call with, listen, I don't ask much. I just want to be your first call in real estate each and every time. That's
Mhm.
all I'm ever going to ask you. Doesn't matter if it's a plumber, a bakery, or you're looking to make an offer on a $10 million home. It actually doesn't matter to me. I'm your first call. That's all I will ever ask of you. And that's where becoming that local authority actually works so well for everybody that does this really, really well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You know, we did a session on geofarming in full, just so everybody knows, I don't know, a couple months ago. So all of that material is in the community, so they can go back and go deeper into this if they wish. But what I thought was really interesting that maybe we could talk about today are some of the math, like the actual numbers. Because that's one of the questions we get a lot about choosing the farm. You know, becoming the go-to agent as opposed to the just an agent who works there, for instance, is something that I think is a mindset shift that's really critical for our agents especially. Regardless of how new or how many incumbents there are, this is doable. People have done it for decades. There's no reason why it can't be you. But one of the most important things is picking your neighborhood. Things like, you know, what's the annual turnover? How many homes should there be? Do you mind just quickly giving us the math?
Yeah, I always try to peg this at something like 6% annual turnover, right?
Mhm.
That sort of means to me if you're in the realm of 1,000 homes, like your area, your neighborhood has about 1,000 homes in it, about 60 sell every year. That's actually relatively simple math to be able to pull from like your board data to say number of sales in this particular pocket, right? And then the total number of homes as estimated. That should be right in around that area. Um, what you're also then looking for is somebody, when you go to pull all of those sold data points, right? That you're looking at your competition as well. You want to see if there's an agent in there that's already owning like 30% or more of that particular area. It's going to be highly competitive. So you're going to want to understand those two data points realistically. That turnover point, shoot at 5 to 6%. And then
Mhm.
how many of those actual solds, that 5 to 6%, have actually been gone out via one individual, or if there's plenty of competition in that area. Does that make sense, Sabina?
Yeah, it really does. You know, I think that and the other piece we always sort of mention is to make sure that you're in an area that has your ideal client in it. So
It,
you're also, yeah, you're not also like working with, you know, whatever. Let's say it's investment properties and you want to be a seniors agent. Like this is important to pick your spot too. So especially because as we get into the next steps of this, you know, one of the pillars is approaching your business as a consultant as opposed to a salesperson. And that is absolutely critical. So your passion and the type of client you want to work with leads to that too.
I
So
would also have to imagine that your ideal client has some of you in them
yeah,
as well for a
yeah.
lot of people, right? People tend to work with people that they like, that they know that they like. So, like when picking these things, like taking it all the way down the line, happens to be somewhere that you live or somebody that you're so familiar with that nobody's
Yeah.
going to beat you at that product knowledge component of it. You're going to make sure that you're competitive in there and that there is enough turnover to justify, investing the time and effort and money that's going to go into it. But then also, like, I happen to live in my farm, right? I happen to have many ideal clients in my farm because they are very much like me, and that's who I
Mhm.
like to work with. And then it's about segregating outwardly. I love the consultant versus the average agent component of this, Sabina,
Mhm.
because what I always do is say, like, yes, I'm going to be your guy on this, but this isn't the right venue for that. And let's book that call. Let's book that time. We're not going to do this over a donut at the Polish bakery down the street. We are going to do this in the most professional manner possible. And we already know that we meet all of those other criteria, right? I've done my homework. You are my ideal client. Let's get to work, right?
Yeah, 100%. Well, and obviously the other thing people should know is, you know, if you don't already dominate your farm or if you haven't even picked one, if you're starting somewhere new, you are not going to be dominating any neighborhood in 90 days. This blitz is about making sure you understand what you need to do during these 90 days, but all regardless of where you are, like whether you're new or not in your particular farm. But it's more important that you understand that a farm is a long-term game, 18, 24 months, whatever you want to call it. But we are definitely going to give everybody what they need to do, however, to dominate. It's just going to take more than 90 days to do that.
And when done well, and consistently, and you're finding the things that are working for you when doing these things. So like everything is available to you. You could do monthly direct mail. There could be door knocking campaigns where you're literally knocking on somebody's door. What
Mhm.
about local event sponsorships? I kind of mentioned that one before, right? But when done well, when executed upon, just in general, I think the longer that you do this, the better you inevitably become. Somebody that I work with, this is a true story, has been farming the same areas for the last 30 years. Okay. And they get a call once a month, no matter what, that says, I remember your signs from when I was a kid. I'm ready to buy my first place. Isn't that insane? Right?
Oh,
We are
cool.
so in tune with like, I got to do it. I got to do it now. And it has to work. This is a long game, right?
Mhm.
24 months. Yes. But 24 years also actually works in this way. So don't give up. Like this is something that can be hyper local. It can be super specific to you. It can be all of your likes to draw your ideal client in, but it's going to take time. And this is a bit of a grind. And you'll see results early, but you'll see real results the longer you stick with it.
For sure. Well, that's the other reason though why we say you need to have more than one source of prospecting. So for instance, the first source was the top 50. This is the second. So if your top 50 is underperforming, your farm can pick up the slack and vice versa. So already just doing these two things, you're diversified and you're not 100% reliant on one activity. So we really want to make sure that everybody understands that. And having said that, I think that's a good transition into the next step about prospecting, which is thinking about how to activate your database, how to use the 35 touch system. How do you feel about introducing that to everybody?
I I would be happy to. This is something that we implement with our team day to day. It's a mandate to be on the team that we run. It is 35 touches. It equals your income. That is the easiest way to think about this. 35 daily touches, your income is tethered directly to that level of work. Okay? Your database happens to be your gold mine in this particular instance. And that's because of the types of communications, those 35 touch points, excuse me, that we are going to talk about today. So this isn't sexy. It isn't exciting. Most of the time, it is frustrating as hell. You're going to make 35 calls and 32 of them are going to go to voicemail. But here's what else is true. It's because you've done that, because you've taken those actions, that
Mhm.
the activity inevitably becomes your income. So I would challenge everybody on the call. Show me an agent that makes 500K a year, and I will show you somebody who prospects in the gaps between other money-making activities. That's
Mhm.
what we are talking about here. It is not something that you do when you have time. It's something that you do all the time. And this is where you create your business. So I hope that that was a good introduction,
Yeah.
Sabine.
No, that was perfect. That's exactly what I was hoping you would say, because when we talk about things like a 35 touch formula, even if 35 of those touches go to voicemail or are unanswered or whatever, we're going to, by the end of the session today, we're going to show people how the math still works and why those 35 per day equal the kind of money that we've been talking about in this 90-day program. So, but they'll have to hold on to the end to get the math. So before we go forward, I wanted to just make sure everybody understands this next section is their actual step-by-step playbook. So this is using their top 50 plus their database activation system so that by Friday, and I'm talking about this week, Friday, they will have had dozens of the right real conversations. They will have booked 3 to 5 appointments and figured out how to build momentum that lasts very quickly. So I know that says a lot, but I think we can prove that out in the next probably 10, 15 minutes. What do you think?
I couldn't agree more. I think just the action taken on the things that we're saying
Mhm.
are going to create all of the things that you just said. So, yeah.
Awesome.